Okay, so Hawaiian Electric, we feel electrification of transportation, or what we call EOT, is very strategic for the state to hit our 100% RPS goals, to also help bring stability for financial and energy stability, but also to address climate change. But not only that, but as a key strategic goal for the company to help integrate renewables onto the grid, and we hope it will eventually bring cost savings to all our customers. So talking about the other parts of the barrel, right now, Hawaiian Electric, we do burn fossil fuels for generation. That, of course, will decrease over time. But the important part to notice is over 60% of all fossil fuels burnt in the state are by transportation. And over half of that is by light-duty cars and trucks. And there is still a remaining portion that Hawaiian Electric is strategically looking at addressing also. Okay, so earlier last year, Hawaiian Electric, we filed a strategic roadmap, an electrification strategic roadmap, to try to address the transformation of electrification and transportation. In there, we laid out 10 key initiatives, and out of those, we have 5 strategic near-term goals that we want to try to hit. And it's not only by Hawaiian Electric, but we have to do this jointly with partners in the state, local, and globally, in fact. So some of these initiatives are, the first one is boosting EV adoption through partnerships with automobile dealerships, manufacturers, and other local stakeholders to try to lower the cost of ownership of electric vehicles and to bring education to our customers. So this is very key for us to boost the level of adoption. We're doing that right now, and we have been providing incentives through passing through automobile manufacturers to lower the initial purchase cost of electric vehicles. And last month, with partnership with some local stakeholders, we also hosted a ride and drive at the auto show, which was, I think, it was really good. We got a lot of engagement, a lot of people attending that. Of course, with electric vehicle adoption, that has to be supported by a set of public infrastructure, charging infrastructure, to give people a confidence that they can drive where they need to, or if they cannot charge at home. We have been participating in that in the past by providing DC fast charging in the public in our service territories, and we will continue to do so. Right now, we are in the middle of doing what we are calling a critical infrastructure backbone study, where we are going to analyze the need and the placement for public charging stations. That is due later in the summer, and we will make that public and file that also. But so not only that with light-duty vehicles, but like I said before, there's other types of vehicles. So heavy-duty vehicles such as buses, we feel are very key. We have had strategic partnerships with the state and the airports, the city and counties with their bus fleets. Private industry, so recently we partnered with JTB to try to analyze their charging needs, give them advice of how to do that. The other things that we're doing is also trying to provide rates that will help match charging needs to the needs of the grid. So recently we were approved a bus tariff that is to incentivize charging during the midday instead of during the peak hours. And that'll help match the needs of the renewables on the grid. So again, we cannot do this alone. We have been, and it's particularly we started engaging a wider footprint with partnerships with government, non-government, private, public, local, mainland, actually international partners to get our strategic roadmap filed, and we continue to work with the partners and increase our partnership as we move forward in our plans. Okay, so in our strategic roadmap, we laid out a forecast for electric vehicle adoptions to the year 2045. Right now, we're looking at roughly a little bit more than 50% of all vehicles, light-duty vehicles in the state will be electrified by the year 2045. In Maui, that'll be, sorry, I can't see, but I think it's 60% on Maui and 50% on the Big Island. Some things to note is we are currently, if you look at where we are on that map, right now it's 2019 and we are less than 1% EV adoption. By numbers, that's We hope to hit 9,000 EVs, I'm thinking, this month. By numbers, that may be small compared to a state like California, but we're only second in terms of EV penetration per capita compared to all states and right behind California. Okay, so talking about carbon. So as you look towards 2045, we think that currently our carbon emissions will be reduced from 2.4 million tons down to 1 million tons, with a reduction of 1.4 million tons on Oahu. So this is just an Oahu example. You'll notice that the remaining in 2045, there's still 1 million tons of carbon emissions, which is still the other roughly 45% of what we call internal combustion engines on the road during that date. Let's see. So the other comparable numbers are for Maui is roughly a reduction of 0.4 million tons and 0.3 million tons on Big Island. Okay, then as I said before, to support the EV adoption, we need to have a level of public charging infrastructure. So that would be what we're looking at, especially in Hawaiian Electric, is supporting by putting in DC fast charging at the workplace, and also letting third parties put charging in commercial areas, other commercial areas like strip malls. We think that to support that level of adoption on Oahu, that we'll need roughly 2,200 charging ports. That is not including the privately owned residential ports that we assume that all EV owners with a home will have at level 2 charging ports. So those are the numbers that we're looking at as far as charging infrastructure to support EV adoption. Okay, so here's where the main part of your exercise, I guess you guys have a thought experiment later today. So if you look at that level of charging infrastructure that's needed, the cost there is in that circle, but there's all the costs involved in EV ownership, but what we're showing is that the benefits outweigh the costs. There are two charts there. The chart on the left is what we call non-managed charging, and the chart on the right is managed charging, in which there'll be incentives for people to charge during certain times of the day, which will best match the use of the grid and therefore lower costs. So you'll see that the cost benefit for the chart on the right is greater than the benefit on the left. So with that, with taking in consideration, and this is again on Oahu, so taking into consideration the 1.4 million tons of CO2 emissions reductions in 2045, and these costs for this charging infrastructure, and some other assumptions, we're looking at, like, for every $200 spent in investment in charging infrastructure will reduce a ton of CO2 emissions. So I think that went a lot faster than I thought it would. I don't have any slides for sewage treatments, but I think I am done. Okay.